Let's go.
What's happening?
Hello, doctor.
Hello, doctor.
Hello.
I feel good to be in a lab coat. It feels like my opinion means more.
Dude, it does. I mean, this is freaking incredible. Like, you don't realize the power in costumes until you got a lab coat on. Like, if we were walking around a CVS,
Right.
people would ask us for advice. They
Yes.
would probably be like, is this the right spray for me?
Isn't it amazing?
It's amazing.
Like, what is the purpose of a lab coat? Like, why this particular coat? What is this? Does this provide any protection? Is it
You
good
want
for
monkey
the
blood?
act?
You want monkey blood on your good shirt? Like, you gotta wear the lab coat because you get blood.
Right. In the late 19th and 20th, early 20th centuries, when many scientific breakthroughs happened, the white lab coat started to symbolize cleanliness and scientific rigor. Not only it made doctors and scientists easily distinguishable, but it also made spotting any contamination easier. That makes sense.
Was that a problem back then, mixing up your doctor with your scientist? Is that a real problem?
Is that what they're saying?
It says it makes doctors and scientists more easily together because
Yeah,
they're both wearing.
they're both wearing
It's
lab
not like
coats.
costumes, like doctor costumes, scientist.
Right, you go to a doctor. Doctor, help me. I'm not that kind of doctor. I'm a PhD. I study nuclear atoms.
I like that acknowledges that this is a kind of ceremonial outfit. It's a priest's robe because it's like symbolic more than practical for some people.
Well, there's a bunch of those, right? Like the judge's robe.
Oh my God, that's
How
so
weird is that? Because if you had a guy who was dressed like in a golf shirt with like shorts on
Yeah.
and a pair of Nikes, and he's like ruling judgment on things, you'd be like, fuck that guy. Who's that guy?
Yeah.
He's a regular guy.
Like a tank top.
Yeah.
A dude in a tank top sentences
With a
you to
mullet.
life.
A dude is dressed like Joe Dirt.
Also the hammer.
Right.
They bang the hammer to like signify that justice has been served.
What a weird trick.
That is I mean, this is when you realize how all of society has got occult aspects to it. Like those are people in ceremonial clothes
Yeah.
banging a ceremonial hammer.
If not occult, definitely cult.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, occult. It's like, yeah.
Yeah. What's the root of cult and occult? Like, what is the connection to those two words?
The devil.
Satan. Satan. There's got to be some kind of connection, right? Fascinating thing about cults is that when they get to a certain size, we stop calling them cults.
Yeah.
Like the really successful. Well, the idea is that there's no such thing as a successful cult, and that's really just not true. Okay, the words cult and occult are popular terms that should not be confused with one another. So what are the differences between them? The term cult typically is used by the secular media to describe religious or semi-religious groups whose members are controlled in almost every single respect by a single individual. Some good examples are Hare Krishnas and Scientologists. But that's not like a single individual. I don't think that's a good definition. You know what I'm saying? A single individual, that's not.
I think that is
a group.
That's the classic. I mean,
Right, but they're saying Scientology. Scientology clearly has an organization. I mean, there's one guy that's the head of Scientology, but they have like a whole. It's a very complex organization.
Very complex. Oh well, I mean, I think the idea is that the main cult leader generally has like
The doctrine.
deputies around him. Like,
Okay.
he has his own sort of close inner circle.
Right. In that case, it's true, right?
The bigger it gets, then the deputies have deputies or whatever you want to call it, and that's how you get a big functional cult.
Right. Right.
And I think probably, I mean, it would be safe to say that a successful cult passes that barrier between what the fuck, you guys believe that shit, to what the fuck, you don't believe that shit. Like your cult doctrine becomes the like language of truth.
Yeah.
And then you've succeeded. Like then your cult that's like you're 1 in 100 million maybe. Most cults just fail, I imagine.
Yeah, but that seems to be just a natural pattern for human thinking and behaving, that we, for whatever reason, like naturally fall into groupthink.
Oh yeah.
And if we're led by a very strong, charismatic person that we think is exceptional, we'll accept it.
Yeah, right. Like you and I, we've talked about this. I see the function in that. Like if you're in a situation that you don't know how to handle, You want the person who's the best at handling the situation to say, here's what we do.
Yeah.
And then that's great. Then that's when it works.
Right.
But it should be situational, right? It shouldn't be like, you know everything.
Right.
That's where it turns into a cult.
Well, that's like, what is that term that some people that are really smart tend to believe they're really smart at other things because they're really smart at one thing? They'll get a distortion. It's a very common term.
I know what you're saying.
It's at the tip of my tongue.
It's a distortion.
But it's a thing that happens to you when you're really good at one thing, where you think you're just exceptional, period.
Right.
And you think you know more about maybe like there's scientists that are really terrible about health. They're probably brilliant when it comes to certain aspects of whatever it is they study, string theory.
Yeah, sure.
But their knowledge of health, their knowledge of how to work their own. Like I've talked to scientists, like I don't think vitamins are important. Like what the fuck are you saying? Dunning-Kruger effect. Thank you. The smarter. Sorry, it says the smarter you feel, the dumber you are. Dumb people think they are smart, and the smart people think they're dumb. If you're like most people, you're likely to be very good at something. And you openly admit you're less competent at something else. However, we've all met someone in our work and life who always overestimates their knowledge or ability of a certain topic or skill. Where some people are obviously incompetent in a particular subject, you like confidently insist they know everything. That's when you start to wonder, how on earth could this person be that, well, stupid? In fact, this is not uncommon. Even William Shakespeare mentioned it 400 plus years ago. The fool thinks himself to be wise, while a wise man knows himself to be a fool. Today, this phenomenon is known as cognitive bias of illusionary superiority. So, but it does have something to do with you being good at something and being really stupid at other things because you think you're smart.
What a great insult to tell someone that they have
a
Dunning-Kruger. Yeah, that is a great way to call someone dumb.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because this is the problem with the term dumb. Really what it is what are you focusing on? Because there's very intelligent people that didn't focus on communication.
Right.
They didn't focus on language. They didn't focus on proper grammar or how to structure a good sentence.
Yeah.
They focused on a particular act, whether it's swimming or whether it's chess or whether they focus on whether it's playing guitar, playing pool. I've met brilliant people playing pool.
Right.
I think I've told you about my friend Johnny, who could do complex math in his head.
Yeah.
I mean, not complex, but math in his head. So what you would do, you would one guy would have a calculator, and we would do this at the pool hall, and then we would go 300 divided by 5 minus 4 plus 16 times 2, and he would bang.
Yeah.
He would just rattle it out. We would go, what the fuck, man?
Yeah, what the fuck?
And he was homeless.
Did he say how he did the trick?
No, he just knew how to do it.
Holy shit.
He could just count. Dude, he was just insanely smart.
But that implies, there was a kid in my neighborhood who could do that. And it was he was annoyed because once you are known as being able to do that, that's all people do. They don't want to talk to you. They just want to get you to solve complex math and then go like, holy fuck. But it makes me think that they're perceiving reality in a completely different way.
They must be. They must be.
They have to be.
They must be. This guy, Johnny, he had a lot of mental health problems, like serious mental health problems and drug problems. But he was one of the most brilliant people I've ever met, and socially brilliant. You know, he's a pool hustler.
Yeah.
But he's very socially brilliant. Like, he knew when people were full of shit.
Yeah.
He knew when people's egos were flaring up. He knew, and he loved comedy. It was like his favorite thing. And so I met him at the pool hall, and I took him to see comedy. And, I took him to one of my shows, and he fucking loved it. He's like, oh, I love when they call people out on their bullshit. It was like he was like a social scientist.
Yeah.
But also could play all these different musical instruments. Homeless. I met a kid who was 16 years old, and he was a chess wizard who wanted to hang out with the bad boys. It was really interesting because he was like this super nerd that all of a sudden he was hanging out with these guys who were smoking and gambling, and he was 16 in this really rough pool hall. And he would sit down with this guy who just got out of jail. This guy had just got out of jail, and in jail learned how to play chess in his head. So they don't have a board. So because they don't have a board, they have to call out the numbers in their head. So I'm watching this recently released prisoner and a 16-year-old super nerd play chess in their head. and they're calling it out. And I'm sitting there going, like, it's like I'm
What?
watching them do magic.
What?
Yeah.
So like C to 4, 7.
Yep. And they're keeping track of the whole table in their head.
They just see it in their head.
And there was no arguments, by the way.
It's just, you hear about, I think we talked about it at the mothership the other night, but you hear about people who perceive numbers as colors or something, or as it's like their brain has made a different connection. Because if you think about what our eyes do with photons, that's insane. That instantaneously it forms time space around you with like zero effort. Like it's interpreting all this data, color, wavelengths, all that shit. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Grapheme color synthesia. So
I want to show you people playing chess in their head because it's crazy to
I wanna
watch.
see it.
But what I was saying, there was no arguments. Like they never said, no, I had this, that, there. There was none of that.
right.
They both knew exactly where everything was. And they were like, check.
Well,
Check.
they're seeing
check.
the table in their
Yeah,
head
yeah, yeah.
clearly. It's like they're
Yeah.
it's going to visual. It's like they're just seeing it, and so
They're keeping track of all their pieces and all their opponent's pieces.
yeah, man. I mean,
That's wild. Watch them do
Wow.
it. It's really interesting to see.
do you have that?
It's called blindfolded chess.
Okay.
Fuck.
It's a
Fucking
skill.
weird.
Apparently, I'm looking at.
Oh, it's got to be a skill.
There's videos of people teaching you how to do it.
Oh, wow.
But I'm trying to. This is just like people talking about it. I'm just trying to find a game. I guess it's not showing two people though. It's not. It's kind of hard to watch.
Is there one that says how to two people playing blindfolded chess?
I figured something would pop up by playing chess in head.
Is that it, mate? No,
Yeah,
Three-man
right.
chess is head to head mental combat.
that's just a different kind of chess.
See, that's what I thought this
What,
was.
what
gonna
is it
be.
called again?
This is something else.
What do they call it? Blindfolded
Blindfold
chess?
chess, yeah.
How about just type in two people playing blindfolded chess? There it is. Blindfolded chess.
That's just one guy. Here's a guy playing 48 games blindfolded
Jesus Christ.
Wow.
What?
while he's riding an exercise bike.
Oh my God, that's so
All the games start at the
insane.
same time.
Oh my God, that is so insane.
What?
Is there a video?
80% win rate. 80. Can you imagine getting beaten at chess? by that? I feel so bad.
It says he developed a technique of a memory palace.
Oh my God. That is used by memory competitors, usually to remember things like numbers or the order of playing cards. He said each game is like a room in a palace.
Ah.
It's all there. He explained to chess.com. I walk into my kitchen to see that stack of bananas. The abstract images are an analog for specific moves, so presumably he now knows a lot of different fruits. Wow.
That is so insane. That memory palace shit is really interesting because you're like you're connecting your memory to
Just
the
go back over the
visual.
moves.
Yeah.
So I can go back to the beginning, and you can go through each.
I
move.
wonder if that. I mean, this is essentially a short-term memory thing you're relying upon. I wonder if that does anything for your long-term memory too. Like, I wonder if they do say that chess is like one of the very best games for just your cognitive
Makes
function.
sense.
Makes sense. It's
Yeah.
super complex.
Yeah.
I mean, think of it's basically like running with your brain,
Yeah.
right?
Did you ever get into it?
No. I got scared.
It's pretty. I only got into it because I had a cool video game where the chess pieces could fight, and so that made me like get interested in like the most surface level. I mean, I was horrible, but the opening moves. Now each opening move, there's statistically, I think, the right second move to do against the opening move, and then you all these combos and shit that you have to memorize. It's so, and then you have to think so many moves ahead. So based on all the possible things they might do,
Yeah.
producing all these parallel chess timelines, and you're trying to pick the one that's like the one you win in.
Chess falls into that whole golf thing with me. I'm sure I'd love it.
Yes.
But I don't want to do that. I don't have any time for anything new like that. I already have a problem with pool. I fucking want to play it all the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a lot easier for me to like level up in Diablo 4 than go to the gym.
Right,
Like infinitely easier. And my brain does not produce the same level of pleasure leaving the gym. But what is it, like 30% of that? And I think sometimes if you are particularly weak, you'll just settle for that. You're like,
Yeah.
you know what, that's fine. I'll enjoy that. And then it just goes on and on. You know, you need to have undisciplined people on your show sometimes because I'm always struggling with it. You know what I mean? And you're like disciplined. But I am like, it's an aspiration. And so I'll get going to the gym. I'll start working out. I'll feel better than I've ever felt in my life. You know what got me to the gym, by the way? I started going, the last podcast, you described how you feel not working out. And I'm like, that's the last 2 years of my life. Like, and then, you know, so I'm like, fuck, I got to do this. And like, you know, walking out, it's simultaneously wonderful and kind of sad because you walk out and you're like, I feel so good. Like, this is all I just had to do this.
Yeah.
It wasn't painful. It's fun.
Yeah.
And now I feel great. And you're like, fuck, man, 2 years. 2 years I went off of it. That's scary. When you're, you know what I mean? When you're oscillating between those two modes, you know, and you don't want to get stuck in the devil's mode, but you know it's a possibility. You know, you somehow have glued yourself to this one. Like you don't seem to really like fall off, you know? Did you at first?
No, it's necessary for me. And it's necessary for me for mental health. And also I don't want my body to fail. Like I've seen people my age that don't exercise and their shoulders don't work and their knees are fucked and they're always tired and like that's not a good way to go through life. If you want to enjoy life, you want to have as much energy as possible. And the best way to have as much energy as possible is to be really fit. Be really fit and healthy and eat good foods and take a lot of vitamins. Take supplements. Eat healthy food. Try to stay the fuck away from processed garbage. Don't drink too much.
Right.
Don't do anything bad for your health because your energy depends upon this physical form.
Yeah.
And it's literally made out of what you put in it.
Yeah.
It's literally made out of that, both with effort and with food.
Right.
And with sleep. The effort that you take to sleep.
Right.
And then also the effort you take to have a stress-free environment. You know, the effort that you take to put out as little bullshit as you can and to like be nice to people as often as you can and just sort of keep harmonious, fun people around you.
Yes.
You feel better.
Yeah.
You know, like if I'm going through something like some friends of mine are squabbling and I have to like get in between them and have conversations, I fucking hate it. I hate it.
The worst.
I hate when people's feelings are hurt. I hate when people are mad at other people. I fucking hate it. I think a lot of times it can be avoided. But if you're not avoiding it and you're just jumping in it all the time, your stress levels are so high. Your comfort levels are so low. You're always going to be feeling like shit. And there's people that get caught up in a cycle of that. They're always calling people out and getting called out and insulted and trying to find the deepest burn. And keep that shit out of your life too. Keep that shit out of your life. But you know, don't not call things out when something's atrocious.
Right.
But just less bullshit you have in your life, whether it's bullshit that you have to deal with because you didn't exercise, where your body's breaking down. It's like car maintenance. Like if you just don't ever change your oil, you could go a long time. I dated this girl once when I was 22, and she told me she had never changed the oil in her car.
What?
I go, how long have you had this car?